All right, everyone, welcome back. In the last video, we created a randomized sample for our Project 2 paper, and we created a complete sample with our information on this tab, and then we also have a tab called Needed Sample Variables, in which we went ahead and we had our median square feet and our median listing price listed, which is just the variables that we need moving forward to make life easier. We also made sure that our X variables were placed before our Y variables to make calculations easier as well. In this video, we will be creating the summary statistics for the mean, median, and sample standard deviation that we need for the paper. This process is going to differ from what is in the PDF resource, which is fine. I figured that if we use the Excel formulas, it will kind of give you a better feel of what's actually going on in Excel instead of using the toolkit, but both resources will provide you with the same information. So please feel free to use whichever resource makes the most sense to you. All right, so to quickly create a table, what we're going to do is just take our mouse and we are going to left click in cell A1. And while we have that fat white arrow, we're just going to carry it over to column B. And then once those two column headers are selected, we're going to hold down on Control and then press C to copy them. And then we're just going to choose a space in our data set. I'm just going to choose this cell right here, and I'm going to hold down on Control and press V to paste it over. Now you want to make sure that you have room on this side because this is where I'm going to put the descriptors for what it is that I'm actually providing. Here is going to be the mean, and then we also have the median is what we need to provide, and the sample standard deviation. Again, I hope I spelled that correctly, but if I did not, please do not give me a hard time for it. Again, I went into math because I cannot spell and I'm not ashamed. Okay, so as we can see, our fonts are a little bit different, and we want a table that we actually can copy and paste straight into our paper. So what I want to do is select the font that I want my mean, median, and sample standard deviation to look like. And I am going to come up, make sure that I'm on the Home tab. I'm going to select Format Painter. And now you will see those little moving lines around the cell that we selected. And next to my cursor, you will now see a paintbrush. This means that we're just going to be copying over the formatting. What I want to do is hover over to mean, and I'm going to left click and hold, and I'm going to drag down until I get to sample standard deviation. Then I'm going to release the left click, and now everything has the same format. Now I am going to spell check just because I'm paranoid that I might have misspelled something. So what I need to do is go into the review screen, click on review, and then spell check is my first option to the left. So I'm going to click on that, and it tells me that I am actually good to go because everything has spell checked. So I'm going to go back to the home screen now, and I'm going to fill in borders so that my table looks a little bit better. And I'm also going to go ahead, this looks okay, but I'm going to open these up a bit so that I have a little bit more space. To widen a column, you just need to hover in between the two columns in that line, and then your cursor changes to something like this. So you're just going to left click, and while you're holding down, you can just drag to the left or right to make it wider or smaller. And I'm just going to click and make those a little bit wider. Now I'm going to add borders. So in order to do that, I already have these highlighted, and I'm going to need borders around them anyway. So I'll leave that as is. And I am going to click on this little arrow. Again, I'm on the home screen in the font area. I'm going to click on this little arrow for the borders. and I'm going to choose all borders. You can choose whatever you want, whatever looks aesthetically pleasing to you. I just generally like all borders. And now I want this data field to be filled, but I also want to fill these columns. So now I'm going to, my column headers. So I'm going to select all of this. And to do that, I just selected the first cell of interest. And once I got the fat plus sign, I just dragged it to all of the cells that I wanted to include. My all borders, as you can see, all the possible lines are dark, is still highlighted. So all I have to do is click this button and everything is filled in. Now, for the technical part, we're going to fill in the formulas to populate the information that we need into our table. So the first one we're going to do is the mean. The formula for the mean in Excel is actually average. So what we're going to do is hit the equal sign, as we do for all of the formulas when we start in a cell in Excel. A cell in Excel. Sorry if that wasn't clear. And we're going to start typing average, and it should populate. Here we go. Average is the second one in my list. I'm going to double left click. And then, because we are working on the median square feet, all I have to do is go next to letter A, where my median square feet data is selected. And I just need to left click once and then hit enter. And there we go. Now we're moving on to the median. Our median cell is selected, but if you want to just confirm, we'll just left click once there, press the equal sign. The formula for median is actually median. Okay, so we're gonna left click and select that one, or double click and select that one. And again, we're doing this for our X variable. So we're just gonna go up to the letter A at the top. We're gonna get this downward arrow, and we are going to left click and then press enter. Finally, we're going to calculate our sample standard deviation. To do that, we are going to press equal, and then standard deviation always starts with STD. Now, we have quite a few options. We are looking for our sample standard deviation. So what we really want is STDEV.S, which is going to estimate the standard deviation based on a sample. And as you can see here, it tells you. So we're going to double left click on this option. And then again, we're going to take our cursor up to letter A till we get that downward arrow. We are going to left click, and then we're going to hit enter. And there we have our sample standard deviation. Now, the great thing about Excel is that we don't have to go ahead and type in all these formulas again. Since our median listing price, our Y variable, is right next to our X variable in the same format that it is in the table, what we can do is we can take this value for median. So I'm going to put my cursor where my median value is right here, and I'm going to left click to select it. Then, while I still have this fat white cursor, I'm going to drag down till I get to sample standard deviation. So all three of my numbers should be highlighted. Then I'm going to release the left click, and I'm going to take my cursor, and I'm going to go again to this little green arrow that's in the corner, the bottom right corner of my data. So I'm going to hover over that, and I get the skinny black plus sign. And I'm going to drag it over into my table for the Y variables. And as you can see, my numbers have changed. Now, you can see that if you click the cell, you see that the average, instead of corresponding to AA, like we told it with our X variables, now corresponds to B, which is our Y variable. Same thing for the median, and same thing for the standard deviation. Now, the last thing we want to check is to make sure that the context around our numbers is still valid. So, as you may or may not know, standard deviation doesn't have any kind of units tied to it. So, it should just be a number. So this is fine. As far as the median and the mean are concerned, you can, I guess it's possible to have square feet, that's a decimal, but in our case, we generally do not. So the fact that these are whole numbers is completely fine. However, our median listing price, the mean and the median, are numbers that correspond to money. So what we would want to do is highlight both of them. What I did was I left clicked on the cell that is corresponding to the mean for the median list price. And while I have that fat plus arrow, drag down to the median only. And what I'm going to do is go up, again, make sure that I am on the home tab, and I'm going to go up and select the accounting number format, which is the one in shape of the $sign. So I'm going to click that to make sure that my context around my numbers is actually accurate. My mean and my median should be in dollars and cents, and now it is. And that concludes the description or the summary statistics that we need for our assignment in week 2. I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or to post something on the discussion board, because if you have a general question, there's a good chance that your classmates might as well. All right, thank you. And again, I hope this was helpful.